This video will cover dilations in geometry, where a dilation is notated by D subscript k, and it's a capital D, where it's a grow or a shrink by multiplication. And we're multiplying by the scale factor k. So again, k is the scale factor. A scale factor can be positive or negative. It can also be greater than 1 or smaller than 1. So if k is greater than 1, the figure will grow. If k is between 0 and 1, then the figure will shrink. For example, if we were looking at 1/2, the figure would shrink. If we were looking at a scale factor of 2, the figure would grow. In this first example, we will be looking at a basic dilation on a graph. We're given triangle ABC with coordinates A, B, and C, and we are asked what the coordinates of the image are after dilation by a scale factor of 1/2. That means we're multiplying each of our coordinates by 1/2. The rule for a dilation takes x, y, and maps it onto kx, ky, where again that k is the scale factor. So we'll start by plotting triangle ABC. And remember again that we think about it in terms of x, y. Coordinates are always in alphabetical order if you think of x comes before y. So I go over to the right 6 and then down 4. And I'm labeling this with A. The next one is over 8 and up 2. B. And over 2 up 4 is C. If you have a straight edge to connect these to make a nice neat triangle, that would be helpful. If not, then do your best to keep your lines nice and straight. I'm asked to dilate by a scale factor of 1/2, and there's a way to do this graphically, but I think the easiest way is to do it algebraically and then plot the points. We have to plot and list the coordinates anyways, so it doesn't matter the order in which you do this. So if you do like the graphic option, that's fine. But I'm going to show you algebraically because, again, I think it's the easiest. So here I'm taking each of my coordinates of the pre-image, ABC, and mapping it onto the image A prime, B prime, C prime. And so what I'm doing is multiplying each of these, the x and the y coordinates, by 1/2. 6 times 1/2 is 3. 4 times 1/2 is -2. Then I'm moving on to B. 8 times 1/2 is 4. 2 times 1/2 is 1. And C. 2 times 1/2 is 1. 4 times 1/2 is 2. So again, all I did was take each of these numbers and multiply by 1/2. So now my last and final step is just to plot these. Over 3 up 2, or I'm sorry, over 3 down 2. What am I doing? Over 3 down 2, there we go. Over 4 up 1, and over 1 up 2. So when I connect these, you can see that we did in fact get a figure that shrunk. Remember, if we have a dilation with a scale factor that's between 0 and 1, the figure should shrink, which is exactly what happened here. And this figure was centered, the dilation was centered at the origin. So you can see that the figure is shrinking and getting smaller going towards the origin there. We are asked what properties remain invariant in this should say dilation. Also over here. Sorry about that. When asked what properties remain invariant, remember that just means stays the same. What properties stay the same in a dilation? One of those properties that we could list here could be shape. Another could be angle measure. Additionally, parallelism. But one property that definitely changes in a dilation is the size, or distance/length. These three words are referring to the same thing. If you look at a dilation, remember we talked about how it shrinks or grows. And so it's getting bigger or smaller depending on the scale factor. So because the size does not stay the same, this is not a rigid motion. Remember looking back at that vocab from the beginning of this unit? A rigid motion is something that preserves or keeps distance, and a dilation does not keep distance, so a dilation is not a rigid motion. There is one more property I forgot over here that stays the same or that remains invariant, and that would be the orientation. Remember again, orientation is just the order of the letters. So if I were to read this first triangle ABC, starting with A and moving clockwise, I would read it as A, C, B. And if I move to the image triangle, I have A prime, C prime, B prime. Moving in the same direction, starting with the same letter, leaves me with triangles that have the same orientation. Example 2 says that we are given point C and point C prime after a dilation. We're asked what the coordinates of the image of D at 3, -4 would be. So our first step is to find the rule. So how do I go from C at 2, -7 to C prime at 4, -14? And because it's telling me that it's a dilation, I have to think of multiplying. So if I go from 2 to 4 by multiplication, that's a multiplication of positive 2. If I go from -7 to -14 by multiplication, that again is a multiplication of 2. When we think about a dilation, these two numbers need to match, otherwise we don't have a proper dilation. So now that I know the rule, I can apply it. I have the point D at 3, -4, and I'm going to multiply both x and y by 2 by the scale factor. Again, this notation here would be capital D subscript 2 because my scale factor is 2. So then the point D prime lands at 6, -8. 3 times 2 is 6. -4 times positive 2 is -8. Our last example here is looking at working backwards. We are given the point F prime, so this is the image after a transformation of D subscript 5. So that means our scale factor is 5, our K is 5. What are the coordinates of the pre-image? This would be F. I'm trying to work backwards here. So I went from F towards F prime at -10, 35 by multiplying by 5. So in order to go backwards here, I need to divide by 5. So I'm going to take each of these and divide by 5, divide by 5. -10 divided by 5 is -2. 35 divided by 5 is +7. That means that F is at -2, +7. And again, we can check our work here by taking -2 multiplying by 5 to get -10. And taking +7 and multiplying by 5 to get +35. On the next page of this, you will see your practice problems. So at this point, if you need to review anything in the video before you move on to practice, by all means do so. If you're working in the practice and you get stuck, then just come back and review the video. Remember, the positive to having a video here is that you can pause, rewind, go back if you need to.